welcome to today's webinar. Can you hear us? I hope you can. Let's just know if you can or cannot. I have my phone here with me, so hopefully I can check in on you guys writing us. We're just waiting for the technical signal. Anything? Yeah? We got an approval from here. Please sign in if you also have some sound. I'm hoping I can see it here as well. Yes. First one saying yes. And a lot of yeses. Perfect. All right. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Kasper. I'm engagement partner here in Obsidian, and I have Louise here with me. We're going to host today's webinar on B2B Performance Marketing, and we're going to take you through a bunch of things which we are going to introduce you in a second. First, we're just going to shortly introduce ourselves. I'm, as I mentioned, Kasper. I've been with Obsidian for a bit more than 2 years by now. I've been in B2B marketing quite a lot of years. I've also been in general in digital marketing for about 10 years. So I've had my way around. And Louise?
And my name is Louise. I work as a client manager in Obsidian, and I've been here for 3 years. And I work primarily with our biggest B2B clients and also a lot with our industrial clients. So we are looking very much forward to taking you through this 1-hour webinar. And please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll answer throughout the presentation or afterwards.
Yeah, and I have my phone here with me. It's not that I'm texting anyone. I'm just trying to catch up with all the questions that you guys have. And also have a note here, so I can type it in if there's anything that you guys might want to ask, and I'm going to get back to it or anything. But let's dig in and start with today's webinar.
Yes. Our agenda for today is to take a standpoint in 2 different cases that we're going to introduce in a minute, and then we'll get back to them later in the presentation. So first of all, we're going to introduce the cases, then we're going to go through a bit of theoretical models and a framework that we are going to use in the cases as well. And then we are going to finalize with some lead management, which is of course as important as generating leads in B2B. And then we'll have some final takeaways, so hopefully you can start your lead generation project if you're not already having a project going on. So our 2 cases today is very different. Both of them are, of course, B2B. Case A, as we call it today, is an always-on setup, so they have some digital marketing going on always. And when we started the collaboration with this client, they already had a setup that we built further on. And as you can see here, we have managed to drive down the cost per conversion and drive up or increase the number of conversions. So we are going to take you through this client's setup and how they work with digital lead generation. And then we have case B, which is more project oriented. They had a project going on for 1 year to see if digital marketing was something that could work for them. So they had more of a testing framework, where case A were more of an always-on setup.
Yeah, and what might be interesting for you guys as well is know that both Louise and I have been working on both these projects together actually. So we're quite involved, so we generally knows what's been going on. So if it gets a bit too blurred, then again, type in your questions on the chat.
Definitely. But before we dig into the specifics of the cases, we would like to go through different things that you could think about before starting your digital lead generation, or think about now if you already have some activities going on. So the first thing that we think is very important is how you can start up a project if you're not already having activities going on. We have basically 3 different types of projects. We have case A, which is a mix of one with a delimited budget and the ambitions way of doing it. And then we have case B, which is more project oriented. And if we just take the first one, which we call it the limited budgets, that's for companies that have set aside, for example, 100,000 a month to digital lead activities. Here we have a limited budget, and we'll see what we can do within this budget. No matter how it's going, this is what we have. And then we'll figure out how to use the budget in the best way.
Maybe we can just start the poll first one. We did a poll, we can do a poll, where we ask you guys whether or not you are actually running any sorts of digital lead gen. And it's a bit of a test if I can see the answer actually. I hope I can, then I can follow up with you guys at least afterwards. But yeah, I see the poll is there now. So please check in if you are running any digital lead gen activities today, then we can maybe angle it on how you guys are running it.
And for the second way of driving a project or your activities is more the ambitions way, where you say we have some kind of goal. We want to have 100 MQLs a month. How should we get there? Which budget should we use? Which channels should we base our activities on? But we have a foundation and a goal where we said we have to have 100 MQLs a month. How can we do this? And then we have the third one, which is more project oriented, and we see this as a very good way of starting your digital lead activities. So you say we have maybe a budget of again maybe 2 million that we have for 1 year, and we'll start with Denmark, Norway, Sweden as markets, and we want to focus on these projects. So you delimit your scope, even though you might have many different activities going on. But you set a budget, you set some markets, and then you say we have a focus on these specific products to test out whether digital lead generation will make sense in your company. So as mentioned before, our case A is very much focused on the two first methods of doing digital marketing. And our case B is very much focused on the last way, which is more project oriented.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the first things that we often ask if some potential client wants to start digital lead generation is, or at least digital marketing in general, is what is your actual purpose? What do you want to achieve with starting your digital marketing activities? Because our entire setup will be based on what your goals are in the end. So these are the cases that we often see. We have some bigger clients that want to focus a lot on employer branding. Branding your company to potential employees. Then we also have some companies who just want to generate awareness about the company and their products in their target audience. And then we have a lot of clients that also want to build up their lead base. So for example, generating software conversions that of course in the end can be converted to hard conversions in the end.
Yeah, and in some cases we also see that some are combining almost all the four of them. But of course it's also very much depending on how big your ambitions are and how big your budget is.
So of course, as Kasper just mentioned, these four different purposes could be combined, but it's a good idea to think about what is your purpose with these digital marketing activities, so we can build up the correct strategy, but of course also measure our activities based on what we actually want to achieve. If we go a bit deeper, we often use this awareness, consideration, action and care stages to try to build up a framework that we can discuss our activities based on. As you probably know, there are no linear customer journey, but it's a good way to start talking about which channels, which audiences should we activate throughout the customer journey, and just try to put it into a framework that we can build upon. So even though this is not exactly the truth, it's a good way to discuss the activities based on. So of course we have the awareness phase in the beginning, where we try to build up the awareness in our target audience. Then we'll try to get